Okay guys, check this out. This is our little tow truck operations database that we have created, and now we can click some buttons and we can get access denied messages and not allow certain users to do certain things. And this is a very simple action-based security that allows you to evaluate the user's security level each time that they try to do things in your application. So if I select a record to see all of its detail, but then I try to update that record and click update, I get an access denied message. I'm your host, Sean MacKenzie. Thank you for joining me once again on my channel on data engineering. In this episode, we go back to our WebForms playlist, and we're going to take a look at how to do some very basic action-based security on our little tow truck application that we've been building. Now what we're going to do is we're going to load up a session variable, and this will be one of the first session variables that we use in this project, and so you'll get to learn about that and how to transfer values between different page states and things like that. And that's what session variables are good for, and you can use it in order to hold things like a username and a security level. Let's get to it. Interested in more cool topics like these? Make sure to check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. Okay guys, super fun one today. We are looking at some security for our little application. Here is our published towoperations.azurewebsites.net. So this is out on the internet, and we publish this every time that we do changes to it. You can see that this is our complete app. You can click around inside and select rows, and you can do all kinds of things like edit and download and delete and things like that, and send a notification. Although we haven't actually done the notification part of that one yet. We can edit the user there and refresh the screen, but sometimes we don't want to allow users to do certain actions. Now a lot of actions are available to our user here, a lot of different buttons and things, and if we click that driver notified, then we'll get that driver notified message after it sends an SMS text to their phone. And if we click download, it's going to download a list of whatever's showing on screen here. And that's kind of, these are things that that we want, but we might not want them to say delete something like that, where I click delete and it says job deleted. Well, if it's like a user that's not allowed to delete a record, maybe we want to stop them. And the way to do that is to implement some very simple security. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open our SQL Server Management Studio to our database that we have on Azure. And in this case, it's towoperations.database.windows.net. And you probably have a different one for your project. Go ahead and log in. And of course, make sure go back and see the earlier episodes in this playlist. If you don't know what we're talking about with this database here, you can click the card that's displaying just up above there, and it will take you to the starting episode if you need to go there. And here is our database. You can click on it there, and you can expand the table view. And that's going to give us the two little tables that we created for this application. One is for the actual tow jobs, and the other one is for the tow truck drivers. And click on new query there, and we are going to create a new table. So what we're going to do is we'll go create table tow user. We're going to use the script this time, an SQL script instead of the designer. And for brevity, I've just posted it here, and we'll go ahead and run that. But first, there we go. There's our tow user table that we're going to create. We're going to have a user ID, a username, and a security level. And we'll put a date stamp on there as well. And then all we have to do is hit execute on our toolbar there, and that will run it on our database. And you can see it says commands completed successfully. And if I right click on my tables, I should see our new table in the list there. And there is our tow user table. That is exactly what we want to see there. And that will help us tremendously. Now what we can do is we can right click on it, and we can go edit top 200 rows. We don't have to do a script to put a row in. Now the first and last columns in this table are auto-generated, so all we have to do is add some information to our second column, the username, we'll put in info@MacKenzieMacKenzie.com. That's the security that I'm using on this project. And I'll put in a security level of 3 to start. And let's go ahead and close that tab there. So once you close it, that's all going to be saved. And we'll close this one as well. I'll save it as a script, and I will provide this in the download for this project if you need it. I'll save it as the tow user table script. And now we've got our nice little table here, and if I right click and go select 1000 rows, you'll see there's our first row, and it has a security level of 3, and that is what we're going to start with. We're going to change that security a little bit because we're going to use the same user, so we're going to change it from 1 to 3 a few times during what we're doing here. And now we can go to our tow operations 48 project, and notice that we are using the 48 suffixed project. This is an upgraded project. For those of you that need to do the upgrade from 4.7.2, there is an episode on my Patreon that you can check out, and here it is. So this is our project. If we click on the default.aspx file there on the right hand side in the Explorer, you can see that is our markup, and if we go to view and then code, or you can just hit the F7 key, then we can see all of our code behind in Visual Basic, and that's what we're going to be working on today. And so what we can do is we can take a look at this code. You can see at the very top here, this is the page load event. Now it's very, very important, because what we're going to do today is we're going to load a session variable, and we're going to load that session variable with the user variable that we loaded in a previous episode when we first were getting started, and we wanted to know who was the user that's logging into that. And then we put that into a label on screen. We put that user variable into that label user there that you see, and that was really, really handy because we could see it on screen, and we can use that in a greeting for the user. But we want to load a session variable. Now that postback line there in line 6, now that everything after that is what runs when the application is first started, and that code doesn't run again when different events happen on the page. But line 5, which is ahead of the if postback statement, that code runs every time that there's a button pushed or anything happens on the screen where there's a postback. So when we load a session variable, which is going to be used throughout the whole time that the application is open, we really want to only do it on the first time that the application opens, or the first time that the page is loaded. And so that's what we're going to do here. So we have our username already, and we have a table with the username in it in our database, which we created earlier. So all we have to do now is go back and get the user level for the security for the user that logged in. We know the user is allowed to log in already because we used Windows security for our application. So we know that whoever logs in, they're going to have a username. But just make sure that you put that username of all the available users into that table. So here we go. We can create a new data set. That's what we're going to do. We're going to use some familiar techniques. If you've been following this playlist, we're going to reach out to our database, and we're going to get that security level. And to do that, we need to have a select statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to go select username and security level from tow user. The username in that is kind of redundant, but I like to put that in there just in case we need to do some troubleshooting later. But we're going to do select username and security level from tow user. That's our new table where the username is equal to, and we're going to put a parameter called @username. And so we'll use a parameterized query for this, and we can go ahead and get the data from our database. So there's our SQL statement. We are good to go there. The next thing that we can do is we're going to borrow a couple of lines from this update combo subroutine here, because it's just going to get our connection string and open our connection. So we can actually just right click copy those two lines, and we can use those up above. Now this application that we're building is prime for refactoring. I will mention that we're going through the steps of learning how to build the application. We are actually going to refactor this in a later episode, and we're going to show how you can condense a lot of these reused statements into something reusable that doesn't violate the dry concept, the do not repeat yourself concept. But for our learning in here, what we're going to do today is we're just going to set up our statement, and we're going to set up a data adapter as we have in our other data lookups. And to do that, we're going to use our SQL client.sql data adapter, and we can just put in our SQL string in our connection, and that is going to make us a new data adapter. And so that is going to be ready to go. We do need to add a parameter to it though, so that data adapter there, it has a select command in it because we're passing in a select statement here, as you can see, and we're using that connection, but what we need to do is we need to build a parameter that's going to be used for that @username that you can see there on line 16. So what we can do is we'll do a dpt.selectCommand.parameters.add. So we're going to add a parameter in there, and we'll do a new SQL client.sql parameter, and we can make sure that we match the name to the one that is in our statement there, the @username, and then we also need to add the value for our parameter. So we're going to be adding the parameter. It's going to match with the username, and then we can put a comma in here, and we can put in the value that we want to use in our statement, and of course that is the user variable that we created, which is a string. And so there we go, we've got our parameter, and we've added that to our data adapter. And so the next thing that we can do is, all we need to do now is to basically get a data set and fill a table and then get the value from it so that we know the security level. And so once we're done setting up our parameter, we can just go dpt.fill, and it's going to fill that data set, and we're going to create a table in the data set called ttmp user. And once we have that, then we can make a data table object, which is pretty straightforward. You can just go tbl user as data table equals the dst.tables and the ttmp user table. And once we've got that, then we can specify a row. Now we're pretty sure there's a row there in this case, so we're going to go ahead and just say our data row is the first row, which is rows 0, and then we can just go dim int security level is equal to our row and then the security level column, and that's exactly what we want to see there. Once we have that value, then we can go ahead and set a session variable for that value. And so you can create a session variable at any time using the tag that you want. So we put session security level is equal to int security level. And you could do the same thing if you wanted with the username. That's also a handy one to have. We actually have a label that's on this form that has the user on it. But if you say had other forms or other pages that you wanted to use the username for, then it's nice to have it in the session variable. And those two are our session variables, and they will be alive so long as the session is available. Now sessions usually time out after 20 minutes. Like if the user is not doing anything, these will be lost once the session times out, and they'll have to be reloaded again. But now that we've loaded those two, they're available all throughout our application. Like I said, that label there at the top, it has it on this page, but if we navigated to another page, which is what we're going to do in future episodes, then we want to be able to grab that username from the session variable, and that's why we're going to load that here today. So very, very cool. Now that we've got that, we can copy and paste that user text down to the bottom of our code here, because we're going to load that. And now what we're going to do just for a test is we're going to say, the username and then a comma and then their security level, so we know that it's actually working. So that's all we really need to do there. But we are going to do something for this subroutine, this page load subroutine. And now we're actually doing a bit more complicated code in there. And so we want to capture any errors that happen. And so what we're going to do is everything after the post back there, let's grab all of that code and we're going to right click cut that code out of there. And then what we'll do is we're going to make a try catch block so that we can catch any errors that happen, and we'll paste that code into the try block there so you can see what's happening. And basically what we'll do is if we get an error, we don't want the application to crash now that we're doing some more complicated stuff in there. So what we'll do is we'll just put the error message into our status label that we have for that purpose, and then we can save everything. And that is awesome. That is what we want to do there. And so the next step is to actually give this a try. Click on the IIS Express Go button there at the top of the screen, and let's see what we get. Okay, so I've started this and it fires up in my browser here, and let's see what we get. So we've got about blank, and then boom, there we go. We've got our local host version of our app, and there is my username. So this is one that I'm developing locally, and so it's using my local computer username there, and it's telling me my security level is 3, which is what we put into our table. And so now I know that the username that I loaded up, which was my own, it has a security level of 3, and there is the concatenated security level that is showing now on the screen. And so that is exactly what we want to see there. We did not get any exceptions, which would have resulted in an error message at the top of our screen instead of seeing all of that stuff there. So now what we can do is we're going to grab our grid view, our GVW main from our objects there, our controls, and then we're going to grab the row command event, which we created in a previous episode. Make sure that you check that one out if you want to see how to put buttons on the individual lines of your grid view so that users can do things. But you can see we have a delete and a notify case here. One is to notify users with their SMS, and we never actually filled that event yet, but we have the notification happening, so we'll use that as our first example here. So we're going to say if the security level is not high enough, then we're going to give a different message than if they were successful in sending the message. So here we go. Now we can use that session variable that we talked about before. We're going to refer to that, and we're going to grab that from the session. So we don't need to look it up anymore because it was loaded on the very first load of this page, and it has been in there ever since. And even if we navigate away from this page and come back, we'll still have that security level session variable to refer to. So I loaded it into an integer there, and I'm going to say if the security level is greater than 2, we have security 1, 2, and 3. I think we decided were our security levels for this simple action-based security. So we'll say if it's greater than 2, which would be 3 and above, then send the message by SMS and notify the user, and otherwise create an access denied message and put that on the screen instead. And so here we go. There is our driver notified. Now we're pretending that we did the SMS text message in there. We have not actually done that episode yet, which we are going to do very, very soon. But there we go. We've got our access denied. So that now you can see that you can use security levels in order to define whether a user can do certain actions. Okay, so that's all we really want to do there. Let's go ahead and hit go on our toolbar, and that's going to fire up our application, and let's see what we get here. Okay, so there's our security level 3, and so that is the highest one, and so I should still be able to do actions even though I did that. So let's click a notification. It says driver notified, and that's what I want to see there. So it made it through the security check as a level 3 user. So I went back and changed my user level, and I reloaded the page by hitting refresh there. So now I'm a level 1 user. If I click on the notification, I'm getting access denied, and it did not send the notification to the user. Okay, so there's our delete button, and we can do the same thing. So notice that time I just minimized my browser and it's still running in the background. So this is going to be a lesson for you guys in how to do a hot reload here. And so I'm going to do some code changes right on the fly here. I'm going to do our security integer again, and I'll load that from our session variable, and we're going to do this kind of the same thing that we did before. You can do this multiple ways, so you could set this up to work in a way that works for your application. In this case, I'll say if the security is less than 3, then just exit the sub. So that's another way that you could do it, and that would actually just cause it to not happen at all and just exit out without any message to the user. It won't do any of this stuff here. So you can do it in a single liner like that. If the security is less than 3, then just get out of it. So now I'm going to save it, and I'll hit that hot reload button there, and let's go ahead and pull up our application. So now I can just hit refresh, and it's going to get the code changes. I don't have to relaunch the browser again. And so there's my security level 1, and if I go down to my delete button, then I can go ahead and hit OK. I really want to try that, and you can see that it doesn't work. The delete does not happen in the table even when it's refreshed. So you could do that where you don't have any message happening, but we probably want to put an access denied or some kind of message on there, and we can do that now. Okay, so let's go ahead and put an access denied message up here. That's where our status label is. It's hidden at the moment. So we can minimize our browser again. We're going to do this code on the fly, this code change on the fly. So we're not stopping our application from running at this point. We're going to do a hot reload. So you can do a neat thing. If you've got a one-liner and you put your cursor after then and then hit enter, it will actually create the block for you and put the code in there just the way you need it. And so we'll put the label status .text equals access denied, and then an exit sub, I should say. And we'll hit reload to get the code changes. So you have to do the reload to get the code changes after you do a hot reload. And then we can try doing a delete here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's scroll down. We'll grab one of these here. That one looks good. Okay, we'll do the Honda Civic. Click OK, and I scroll up. It says access denied. So now it's stopping the code and it's providing a message. It's asking me if I want to delete it, but it's not allowing me to delete it in the end. Now I should note we are going to change that access denied in the status label. We're going to be putting a really cool feature there to capture those messages in a future episode, and we'll be putting a colorful dismissible alert there from Bootstrap to capture those messages, and that's going to be awesome. Okay, so I changed my security level to 3. Now if I hit delete, you can see that job deleted is happening. So that is what we want to see. So our security works. You can put it on all the other buttons if you want, like download and edit and things like that. And that is what we want to see. So I'll minimize that again. And let's apply the same logic to our update button. So we can do that. Maybe we don't want some people to update information. So we can select our control from the list just like we do in VBA. If you're a Microsoft Access developer, you'll select your control and then select the event just like you do in the VBA editor. We'll select click for this event because that's the one that we have for our update button. And we'll do kind of the same thing that we did before, which is to use our security level session variable, and we'll load that into an integer so we have something to compare. And if we need to troubleshoot, we can put a breakpoint and get the value. That's why it's good to load variables for your code. So there we go. We can check again if the security is less than 3, then we'll give that access denied message. And we'll say access denied. And if I could type there we go. And then we'll go exit sub. And that's going to stop the rest of the code from running. And it's going to basically stop the user in their tracks. They won't be able to update that information because they do not have the right security level to do so. And what that really does, that exit sub there, is it stops the rest of all of this code from running. So all that stuff we did to grab the values and put them into parameters and update the record, make sure you check out that episode if you have not done that yet. That's all not going to run because we have checked the security level and it's going to stop that. So we can pull up our browser again. I hit the hot reload on that, so we'll just reload the browser to get the changes. It's much faster than reloading the browser every time. And then we can select and then edit one of our records, and we can, I don't know, put in some numbers on here on the contact phone, and we can hit update, and you'll see that our record has been updated because I am a level 3 user. And so that's what we want to see there. There's the number update that I made to that record. I changed it to 544 on the end, I think it was. And but now if I go and I change my security level, and I've changed that down to a security level of 1, then updated this record and hit update, and now you can see I'm getting access denied, and the extra digits that I put on that phone number are not getting updated. And so that's how you can do a little bit of security there, and that works really awesome. That's what we want to see there. We can update if we're allowed to update, and we don't get to update if we're not allowed to update, and lots of people would like to have that in their applications. It's one of the very basic things of doing an action-based security, and it is really, really handy. And so now what we could do is we're done testing that. We could take the security level off of the user tag there and hit save, and then we'll do a hot reload there. And now we can refresh this page here and it'll go back to how it looked before. Now we've got our security level hidden in the background. We can try to do things we're not allowed to do, and you can see we get the access denied message. We're going to have a bright red message for that when we put our dismissible alerts on. But now you can see we've got our little label there. Gives us a little bit of feedback, and we are not allowed to do things that we're not allowed to do, which is what we wanted to do in the first place here. So moving on, the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to close our browser now. We'll release all of that, and just like in every episode, we are going to put this out into the internet. We don't want any local stuff in this series. We want everything to be working on Azure, using our Azure SQL database, using app services, and so we'll do that publish, the build command, and then publish, and then we've got our publish screen here, and we'll hit publish, and that is going to reach out into app services, which is really awesome on Azure. It's going to run our application completely in the cloud, nothing local at all. All the security, everything is out in the cloud, and that's exactly what we want to see. So that's going to fire up our browser, and it's going to ask us to log in because we have assigned Active Directory on this, or the Azure Active Directory. It's going to give us this approved sign-in request after we put in our password. And there we go. The application gets launched, in-app services there, and it is just like we had in our local application. If I refresh it there, you can see we are in our tow-operations.azurewebsites.net, and if I click on the button there for notification, I'm getting access denied, which is our new logic. And if I try to delete things I'm not allowed to delete, I'll get access denied again. And that is exactly what we want to see there. I can try it as many times as I want and I'll get the access denied message. And that's really, really awesome. And just like I did before, I can select a record and then I can hit edit. And I can change some data on this screen here and try to change that, and it'll give me an access denied message. And that is exactly what we want to see there. And that is how you can add some simple action-based security to your WebForms application on Azure in the cloud. Is your remote desktop open to the internet? Make sure to check out my RDP Cloaker. The link is in the description.